candle's getting quite small. Alright, welcome to another Chilling Profiles, the series in which I explore a multitude of different ghouls, ghosts, creatures, demons, scary people, or whatever from various horror media. That time I remembered the list of things. I am very proud of myself. We're running it back today to talk once again about Zach Cregger's 2022 expectation-subverting masterpiece of a horror film, Barbarian. I did sort of a full spoiler review / analysis of the film a while back, so if you haven't checked that out, the link is in the description. Because of my video creating OCD, however, I cannot in good conscience close the Barbarian chapter of this channel without at least doing a Chilling Profiles on the film's antagonist. So that's why we're here. Yes, today I will be fully explaining and breaking down this hideous inbred monster woman. What has my life become? So just a very brief rundown of what this movie is about, just in case you forgot or for some ungodly reason are watching this without having seen the film. Highly recommend watching the movie without spoilers, but here they come. So this girl, Tess, and this guy, Keith, were accidentally double booked into this Airbnb in a pretty much abandoned neighborhood on the outskirts of Detroit. 476 Barbary Street to be exact. They decide to just stay there together, and after a metric ton of expectation subverting and making us think that Keith is the bad guy, the big plot twist is that they discover a tunnel under the house where a big inbred monster lady is living who kills Keith and captures Tess. Later on, the owner of the Airbnb, an actor named AJ, comes along in the hopes of selling the house to cover his legal fees for a sexual assault case he's wrapped up in, and he also gets captured by the monster. And then, yeah, the movie is about them trying to escape. Absolutely one of the most fantastic and refreshing movies to come out of the horror genre recently, but we aren't here to discuss all that. Let's take a closer look at this freak of a woman known only as the Mother. As hard as it may be to take a closer look at something like that. The Mother is a 7-foot-tall, frail-looking woman who was born hideously deformed as a result of decades of inbreeding. It feels like in some scenes that she may be taller than 7 feet, but in an interview with the actor, who's actually only 6'8", he said the Mother was described to him by casting directors as 7 feet tall, so canonically she is 7 feet. And this shot of her underneath Tess on the ground makes it pretty clear that she isn't as giant as some of the shots make her seem. 7 feet tall is obviously still very tall, but not inhumanly tall. Other than that, she is completely naked, has long black, thin, ragged hair, long fingernails, and a mouthful of rotting, separated teeth. So, I mean, yeah, what else is there to describe here? You see her, she's gross. Despite how frail she appears, the Mother actually possesses inhuman strength, being shown to easily overpower grown men such as Keith and AJ, even dragging AJ out of a deep hole with ease and lifting him off the ground by the head. She also tears his head in half and is shown to break through walls and rip a man's arm off with relative ease. She has pretty high levels of durability as well, surviving a head-on collision with a car ramming her into the side of a house and falling off of a water tower onto her back. Okay, so how exactly did this thing come to be? Well, it's quite disturbing, so brace yourself. This is Frank, a man who in the 1980s and likely even earlier than that would kidnap women, bring them back to his home, which was 476 Barbary Street, where he would, how do I say this without getting demonetized? Let's just say some non-consensual activity took place because I don't want to say the R word. Anyways, Frank would keep these women in cages down in the tunnels he dug out under the house. He would then impregnate and have children with them, and then he would do the same thing to those children, repeating the process of inbreeding multiple times until we eventually ended up with this. The way the homeless man that lives in the area described it was that he made a copy of a copy of a copy and ended up with something like that. It's unclear how many generations, or rather how many copies down the line, the Mother is. Considering how deformed she is, Frank had to have been doing this since like the 60s at least, but the homeless man also says she's been living there for some 40 years now. So if we're to believe that this movie takes place in 2022, then at the very earliest she would have been born in 1982. And I think that's actually accurate because, and this is some big brain shit, In the movie, we get a flashback of Frank presumably just before the mother's birth, where he is buying things to prepare for her birth, and he's also given a VHS which we later see that the mother likes to watch. Within the context of the film, I'm pretty sure this flashback is in reference to the mother's birth and not one of the earlier children. In fact, it has to be because it seems like she was likely the last child, as I doubt she's capable of giving birth, and if it was an earlier child, her being at the house for 40 years doesn't make sense. Anyways, in the beginning of this flashback, we can hear a song playing on the radio, which is Heat of the Moment by Asia, a song that came out in 1982. Since we know that the mother is at the very least 40 years old, and that she wasn't born yet in this flashback, her birth year has to be 1982, since we know that she wasn't born yet that year, and any later would put her in her 30s, which doesn't add up with her living in the house for 40 years. So there you have it, she's 40 years old, born in 1982. I cracked it. When the homeless man said some 40 years, he meant exactly 40 years, apparently. Does it make sense that he knew that? Considering the mother was probably hidden as a baby? Not really, but whatever. So the mother, as you might have imagined, is not very well adjusted. Obviously, her brain did not properly develop, and even if it did, she has been living under this house for her entire life. The only form of education she really ever had was this instructional baby care VHS. And the only word she seems to be capable of saying is baby. And because of this VHS, which seems to be always playing in one of the rooms down in the tunnels, she is obsessed with being a mother. Hence the name, The Mother. This is likely due to the fact that this VHS was, once again, the only thing she ever knew. So, being a mother became the most important thing to her underdeveloped brain. This would also likely be due to the fact that being a mother is the only thing Frank would have raised his daughters to be if he did any raising whatsoever. So basically, what the mother does is she captures people and forces them to be her children. If they resist or do anything to aggravate her, she kills them. That being said, she's obviously very irritable, having killed Keith, I believe, because he was screaming and freaking out, which is later reinforced by Tess when she tells AJ that he has to remain calm and not freak out, because if he gets upset, she gets upset. She does, however, in her own twisted, primitive way, actually attempt to take care of her captives as if they are her children. She feeds them her own breast milk from a bottle and even attempts to actually breastfeed AJ when he won't drink from the bottle. Later on, she saves Tess from what would have been a fatal fall and seems to be genuinely concerned when Tess is injured from the fall. That being said, the mother seems to have absolutely no regard for her own life when it comes to protecting her children. She is, however, deathly afraid of her father, Frank, who also still lives under the house. When AJ escapes her and ends up outside of the room Frank is bedridden in, the mother is too afraid to even get close to the door, clearly showing that she is, for whatever reason, terrified of her father. Likely because he was abusive when she was younger and she doesn't have the brain power to realize that in his old age and with her super strength, at this point there's absolutely nothing that he could do to her. Another thing she seems to fear for some reason is the sun. She doesn't pursue Tess outside when she escapes during the day, and the homeless man says that she only comes out at night. A reason for this is never really given. Could be because she's lived down in the dark tunnels for so long that the sunlight is just too bright for her, and that her eyes have adapted to the dark. Or she might even have some sort of allergy to sun exposure, possibly as a result of all of the inbreeding. Who knows? Regardless, she seems afraid to go out during the day. So now that we understand just what this creature is all about, let's go over everything that happens to the mother during the events of the film. Keith discovers the tunnels under the house and encounters the mother who, according to him, bites him. Tess, in search of Keith, also finds the tunnels, and shortly after she finds him, the mother comes running out of the darkness and bashes his head against the wall, killing him. Tess is then captured and forced to play the role of the mother's child, and she's kept in captivity for a whole 2 weeks until AJ arrives to sell the place. AJ finds the tunnels and ends up being chased by the mother into a trap hole where Tess is being kept. The mother comes to feed them milk, but AJ won't drink it, so he is dragged off to another room for breastfeeding. The mother leaves the trap hole door open, however, allowing Tess to escape. AJ then escapes to Frank's room while the mother is busy chasing Tess. Tess gets out of the house and goes to the police in order to save AJ, who don't believe her at all, leaving her to take matters into her own hands. Tess returns to the house at night, gets her car keys, and when the mother comes outside, she rams her into the side of the house with the car. Believing she had killed the mother, she goes to the tunnels to rescue AJ. He accidentally shoots her with Frank's gun, but the two escape to an area where the homeless guy is. He claims that it's safe here and that the mother has never entered this safe zone, but she does anyways, breaking through the wall and killing the homeless man. Tess and AJ then escape to the top of a water tower where there is nowhere left to run. In an attempt to save himself, AJ throws Tess off of the tower, and the mother jumps after her to save her, landing on her back with Tess on top of her. AJ, realizing that Tess is still alive, attempts to help her up, but the mother then wakes up and kills AJ, gouging his eyes out and ripping his head in half. The mother then notices that Tess is injured and tries to help her up and bring her back to the house, but Tess is too injured to move. Tess then grabs the gun that AJ dropped off the water tower, and as the mother places a kiss on Tess's forehead, she shoots her in the head, finally killing her. And that's it. The mother would terrorize Barbary Street no more. It's time to talk damage. Just how many people did the mother kill? Well, compared to the previous chilling profiles where I had to run around an insane asylum counting bodies with a psychopath chasing me, we have a pretty easy one today. She kills Keith, the homeless guy, and finally AJ, for a total on-screen kill count of 3. However, the way the homeless man spoke of her, this definitely wasn't her first rodeo. And it seems she had been capturing people, forcing them to be her children, and murdering them for years. Obviously, it's impossible to know how long she's been at it or just how many victims she's killed, so her true kill count is unknown. 3 in the movie, unknown outside of that. 3+. Anyways, that's going to be it. You now know everything you could possibly want to know about this inbred monster woman. Congratulations. And with that, we can finally close the Barbarian chapter on this channel, as I have no more content to make on it unless they make a sequel. Let me know in the comments below what other horrific characters you'd like to see me cover on this series. Nothing is off limits as long as it's horror. Manga, movies, video games, whatever, doesn't matter. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe if you are new to the channel, and I will see you guys in the next one.